Everybody's talking about the Celtics coming off of another win, this time over the Raptors, who beat them in their home opener. So 3 of 4. Why does Marcus Smart deserve the credit? I mean, I know he talked to everybody, but does he carry that much weight, Chris, in the locker room that he calls guys out and guys say, we got to snap to it?
No, it was and just the opposite. Marcus Smart's comments were not great. Like they didn't go to the heart of the matter, which was that this defense has underachieved and that this team didn't have an identity. And like, there's some truth that their late game offense could have been better, but he was misguided when he pointed at Jalen and Jason. But what it did make them do is they get on a plane to Orlando and it's like, hey, we should talk about this. Like, and I'm sure in that meeting they sat there and said, you know, whose late game defense could be better? Marcus Smart. And I'm sure there was like, instead of just ignoring the issue, I felt like they had to actually address what was going on and come to terms with the fact that the first 7 games were unacceptable. And I think we've seen in the aftermath, they've started to etch out an identity that they're going to be a better defensive team, that everyone's going to try, that we've seen Jason Tatum now try to move the ball more and be more of a playmaker. And so I just think everybody kind of got challenged to be a little bit better. And I don't know if that was Smart's intent, but it sure lit a fire under everybody. And I'm not ready after 4 games to say it's going to persist, but it sure looks a lot better than it did at the start.
I'm old enough to remember last Saturday when Marcus Smart single-handedly took a flamethrower to the Celtics' opportunity to win a game in Dallas. And I'm also old enough to remember the other games last week. And I don't know the timeline as well as you do, Chris. But in the immediate aftermath of Smart's comments, Jason Tatum played some of his worst basketball. And Jaylen Brown wasn't that great either. And they didn't look good. He ruined them for the week. Only Jason Tatum, playing without Jaylen Brown next to him, has helped him to elevate over the last 2 games. It is not a coincidence. To me, you have one player, Marcus Smart, that you're holding up as, hey, thank Marcus Smart. How could you owe him an apology to anybody who discredited Marcus Smart when he blew Saturday's game against Dallas by not knowing situation, by gambling late with the entire team's fortunes, by being, in essence, Marcus Smart?
And we crushed him for that. And
but 4 days later, we want to congratulate him for fixing the season?
What I'm saying is that if he hadn't have brought up this issues with the team, do you think anything would have changed? Are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown the type of leaders?
Before he ruined Saturday's game.
Well, hold on.
Well,
I think, and I gotta guess, maybe he's indirectly affecting things here. Maybe he indirectly made everyone look around and say, you know what, maybe we should listen to our head coach, Ime Udoka, and we should start playing defense, which is not what Marcus Smart was talking about, too, when he was kind of complaining about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the way they play basketball. So maybe indirectly he had an effect on the game. There's something about even the post-game press conference like last night, he's still kind of talking like he's the coach of the team. There's just something there that's still kind of annoying me a little bit, where I don't know if the guys in the locker room really want to hear it that much.
I mean, maybe that's.
But of course they don't.
And maybe that's it.
They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear, but they need to hear it.
Wouldn't it be better?
This is my big thing.
Player?
Everyone says like, "Oh, go trade Marcus Smart," and I'm thinking, who the hell in that locker room is going to stand up and say anything when things go wrong? Like, who is going to tip over a table and be like, this is unacceptable?
Hey, Chris,
Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are not.
Nature abhors a vacuum. Somebody would become the leader. That's what always happens.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have we seen
science. That? Yes, somebody would step up and become the leader. What you have here is a player who looks in the mirror and sees a future Hall of Famer when he's not. So as a result, he stomps around alpha mailing everybody, throwing darts at players who are still in developmental stages, and actually trying to bigfoot the whole situation.
Developmental stages? They are all-stars in the NBA.
Hold on, I want to, guys, something Curran said, I put in today's email, and it sort of was like brushed aside, but I look at this the same way Curran does. What has changed is not so much what Marcus Smart said and in the immediate aftermath. What has changed is that since Jaylen Brown has not been on the court, Jason Tatum has been allowed to be Jason Tatum. And that, to me, that at the end of the day, even though they're playing better defense, and that's obviously important, so that has something to do with Ime Udoka or finally understanding the defensive system.
But it's the number one thing of why they're succeeding right now.
But isn't also the number one thing is having a player, a star player, and having Jason Tatum flourish as well, and having Jason Tatum flourish on both ends of the floor? Like, I think it's easy to also overlook at that the winning started, I hate to say this, but the winning started when Jaylen Brown pulled a hammy.
Well, hold on, but they also
they won in Orlando. That game in Miami was over.
This whole thing. Are we overreacting to one win over Toronto? We're overreacting to one win over Toronto. They suck. You shouldn't have lost to them the first time. And here we are. Everything's fixed because Marcus Smart's comments, because Jason Tatum's playing well now, because Jaylen Brown's out. Let's see what they do on Friday.
Can I hear what you're trying to say, Chris, about the leadership point that I was making when I talk about developmental? Because that's exactly what Marcus Smart said. These guys are still developing. But for me, it was flip out and wave your arms around like a used car balloon guy. What's the issue with that?
There's no issue with it. The issue was that their coach came out and called them out before that. And there's only so many times your coach can come out.
When I said they were developing.
Well, for me, I wish they would be a little bit more developed at this point. When you're an all-star, you're all NBA. I don't care how old you are. You've been in the league and you've been in big situations.
It's not about leadership. He doesn't allow them to take ownership of the team because you have the seventh best player on the team owning it still.
If Udoka comes in and says these are the pillars of our franchise and these are the guys that are going to lead us forward, then they need to be ready to take that torch. It's been a little disappointing that maybe they haven't been quite ready to do that yet this year, and it's a reflection of why they still need a Marcus Smart and Al Horford in that locker room.
They absolutely need Al Horford, but they never had to give $88 million or whatever it was to Marcus Smart and then tell him, yeah, you definitely can be the point guard. That's what you want to do, and we defer to you. There is a codependence with Marcus Smart that exists here that is ongoing. And the sooner he moves to the back seat and stops leaning between the driver and saying, do this up here, go this way, and just sits there, and just the better things will be. He's got a place here.
The jury is still out on Marcus Smart starting point guard 100%. But Marcus Smart as a leader, and while he's had his missteps, is still an important part of whatever this team accomplishes.
All right, well, we shall see, guys.